Hi, welcome to another episode of Overnight Success. My name is Oluwamaiwa, and today I am joined by Director of A&R at Mavin Records, Rima Tahini.
Hi.
Hi, Rima. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And so when I have my guests here, I usually start with a slightly silly question.
Okay.
It's just like a personality question.
Okay.
So pick one. Everyone being able to read your thoughts, or your internet search history being made accessible to the public.
Oh, my internet search history. Any day.
You pick that.
Yes, I will pick that.
Why?
Because I don't do dingy things on the internet. I'm happy for it. Like at any point, it always concerns what I do, and yeah.
Okay. Hi, my name is Maya Waido. I'm a lawyer, writer, and journalist, and I'm also editor-in-chief of Culture Custodian. Overnight Success is an interview series where I speak to some of my favorite creators and entrepreneurs on the journeys and stories that got them to where they are. That is, young, successful people doing interesting things. I don't think there's any such thing as an overnight success, or is there? Find out more by watching this video. And when you're done, please subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, and share it with as many people as possible. Thank you. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Overnight Success. Yeah. So your dad is Lebanese?
Yes.
And your mom is Sierra Leonean? How did that influence your sense of identity growing up?
Oh man, that's such a deep question. It's something that I often don't talk about or think about because, like, it feels like, yeah, I'm grown now. But it definitely, growing up from two different cultures, felt you could not belong to like either properly, right? You're Lebanese, you're Sierra Leonean, and my mother is Madingo. That's her tribe. In Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're actually originally from Mali. I wasn't fully Madingo, I wasn't fully Lebanese. So trying to fit in was just chaotic, right, in my brain. Because especially the side of my Lebanese side that is not as accepting as, my mom's side. So I was either not light enough, like bright enough, skin tone wise, to fit in the Lebanese community. My hair was not silky enough. Or my mom's side, I was always treated like this unique grandchild. My grandmother's house, I was like put on this pedestal, if that made sense. Like, oh yeah, because like I was rainbow to them. So it kind of, but it wasn't all bad. I think those are kind of the early childhood confusions and like what now eventually as a teenager, I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm going to like do what I want to do. I don't want to fit in anywhere. I'm just going to be myself. And I gravitated towards the schools I gravitated towards and the friends. And I think I probably kicked away from I've never said this out loud, my Lebanese side a little bit more because of it as a defense mechanism. Because I'm like, yeah, whatever, like, and like, yeah. But it also kind of created the diversity in me from very onset. A worldly view, I kind of knew so much happening beyond just like, Sierra Leone because of my Lebanese side as well. So I grew up with my grandma, my Lebanese grandma, and my Lebanese aunt for like the first for a good 6 years of my life.
Okay.
Early, under 10. So that influenced me a lot. I spoke Arabic first before English. It was I think my second language. And yeah.
Okay. So you grew up in Sierra Leone until the Civil War. And I think that's a perspective I don't think I have seen or heard a lot from in terms of a child growing up in a period of war and strife.
Yeah.
And so what I'm kind of curious about is, A, what do you remember about that period? And what are like the legacies of that crisis that still linger with you now?
Yeah. But anyways, you can watch Black Diamond. Hollywood did a very poor job at telling our story. But anyways, I was 4 when the war started. Actually, it started when I was born. We started in the rural areas. And then it kind of caught up to where I lived. Where I was born for like, I think, when I was 4 years old. That's when it started properly, at least to me. And I have like pieces and like just bits and pieces of my memory.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I talk to my mom today, she's like, "Wow, you remember this and you remember that," and I kind of narrate it from like my like my piece together memory. But I think one of the things that linger up until this day is, okay, this is gonna sound like a sub story, which I hate. That's why I hate talking about this. There's no way to talk about it,
Yeah.
other than, is literally we're trying to cross from the central part of the town to the west, where there was less chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had to walk, and running from that point to the west. It's not a very big city, but it's like a whole, like probably like 40 minutes walk.
Okay.
And it was in the middle of gunfire. So like you're like walking on top of dead bodies.
Jesus.
You're like, and you're seeing, I remember seeing vultures like sitting on them. That's what I'm saying. I hate, like, this is like, anyways, I don't like that you asked me this question, but I have to answer it, I guess. And I think my deck of cards fell off my backpack and I wanted to pick it up. I don't know which adults in my family just scooped me up. Like, I think in my life I'll never try and take it. And anyways, it's a memory that kind of lingers with you for a very long time as a child. And like, it's something that I still can picture very vividly till today. But you know what? There's nothing that I can say, oh, and then he made me this and that. So yeah, thank God. Thank God.
And your family moved to Guinea.
Yes, we moved to Guinea during the war. We were refugees in Guinea.
So what was that like for you at that point?
I was a child, so I think it was probably worse for my parents. It was worse for the adults. My aunts, they had to figure out what we're gonna eat, what I was gonna wear. I remember my aunt like borrowing clothes from like other kids in the camp so I could like wear something. But then always felt like this one big sleepover in my head. Because I was a child, like I wasn't fending for myself. So I was playing with other kids. I spoke French. That's where I learned how to speak French fluently. So I became the translator for my adult parents who could not grasp it at all. And yeah, so that was basically, it was tough, but at the same time, like, again, like, it exposed me to so much so early. So many, I think, backgrounds and other people that otherwise just I'm an only child. Okay. So growing up in a very small nuclear family, I would probably not have experienced those. Obviously, it didn't need to be a civil war refugee camp, but that's what life threw my way. But definitely what I know that was hard was not being able to, now that I have a daughter, like whatever she wants, like whatever, she would not want anything basically, except it's bad for her, right? And that's like I didn't have that. Like it was like, oh, I like this toy, but I could only play with my friends. Yeah, but.
Okay, so something I kind of discovered, so eventually your family moved back to Sierra Leone, but then also I think in this time your father's business kind of had some issues. And again, because I think like focusing on being a child and witnessing all these things around you, what lessons did you take from that?
So I think one of the main things that sticks with me up to today is that my mom is such a strong woman. And I know that like it's not something to be romanticized, because when Africans say you're a strong woman, they want to kill you.
Yeah.
They want to kill you. It's not like a cute thing to be a strong woman. It's nice, it's great, but then it just taught me that like there's so much resilience I saw growing up in her. There was so much like, she still had so much to give to other people, regardless of like all of those circumstances, right? And I think that's impacted me a lot as a person. I think for me, I never think of like, oh, what I'm like, not that like I'm not financially savvy as a person, but at the end of the day, money is for something. It's to make things help need. So I never think of, oh, someone or me, I'm in need. I will now say no, but I must save it. Right? That's how I think it's impacted how I look at resources in life. Because she just still had so much like family, neighbors, that she was still kind of feeding when we didn't have much. I don't know how she did that, but I learned that, and I also learned to be content. Just, I didn't want, I want this and I want that and I want to do this. I was like content with what we had, and also it also put this fire in me that I had to make it out. I had to make it out, and I think I embraced education so much then because I was like, okay, this is my way out.
Okay, so that now brings us to the next point. So I remember when ALA was starting.
Yep.
And I remember this whole thing about, because I had friends who went there in the first class. That was like my year. And I remember the sense of competition where kids, like the smartest kids in my year, like it's like, okay, maybe the smartest 3 kids would go and like do like their assessments, and they would only take 1.
Yep.
And so it was like, okay, this is a very selective school that's trying to like capture the best minds from across the continent. So you would end up making it to ALA, which is the African Leadership Academy in South Africa. And you're talking about obviously prioritizing education. So walk me through that process of, I want to go to this school, and then what that experience was like for you.
Right. Yeah, ALA it definitely was probably, still today, probably the most competitive thing
You've ever done?
Yes.
Even music industry?
No, not even getting to college, not even just that process. Well, I think I still remember the phone call that they called me, and I did that. Anyways, I didn't know what it meant then, but that day changed my life. Really, it did. It sounds very cliche now. When I was leaving ALA, I didn't think I would say these things about ALA. You know, when you're leaving a school, you're like angry. But then really and truly, it's just a very pivotal time in my life. So I was in secondary school in Sierra Leone, Annie Walsh Memorial School. It was the first girls' school in West Africa, by the way. I think in Africa, so Southern Africa. Okay. Yeah, anyway, so at the time, I was already about to take my senior work. And this opportunity came. Obviously, it came to, like you said, they'll pick the top students. They'll go to every school and they'll gather the top 10 or top 5, right? And then, honestly, like I said, I took the whole education is your future, the things that you stay with. I really took it to heart. I sometimes like, why didn't I play when I was a teenager? Like, I was constant, like my dad used to yell at me for studying too much. I don't know if up to now I've heard that, but literally he would call me like, come and watch this film with me. Every time, book.
That's the type of kid I want to have, man.
Well, yeah, but then it was also like I don't know, it was like a trauma response. Like I just threw myself into school, and it was everything. And I think at some point it now became, and I'll come to that, I think it became what defined me. Like it was linked to my self-esteem. So that's where you kind of know once. Yeah, but anyway, so I was always the one that went to quizzes and competitions, debates, like I think Annie Walsh, they give this thing called, so all girls school. So when you have an orange belt, you're like a star student or whatever. So I had an orange belt. Anyway, so school was all I did. And so when this opportunity came, and it came to Miss Rose, this lady called Miss Yaniva, who honestly was one of the most instrumental people in my life. She came to the school, and then we had to go to a camp. So they picked me as like I think the top 5 or 10 people. I don't remember the exact number. So we went to her camp, and she told us about ALA. I think it was about 250 students from Sierra Leone applying. Coached us through. She helped me with my essays and helped me craft my story. And I remember some of my friends dropped out. They're like, what, 2 extra years? I'm going to university, like I don't want to do it. And I thought about it, and I think I saw their brochure, as cliche as that sounds. I was like, you know what? I'm hearing that this 2 years might take me to a university in America. And then I looked at the current state of affairs in my country and the education system, and and obviously Sierra Leone they used to call it the Athens of Africa when Athens was Athens, and like where West Africans went to study. So most of the first schools and universities were actually built in Sierra Leone. So, but at that point, my time was just already down the drain, to be honest. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice 2 extra years. It's fine if my peers like finish before me. That's okay. I'm going to do this because I kind of saw where it would lead me. And I think I'm still proud of myself for making that decision at like, what, 18?
Yeah.
And, because, yeah, sometimes you just want to be done. So I did the application, and then, one thing they told me, there was 15 finalists out of the 250, and then they chose 2 people. I was one of the 2. And I think mainly because, like, one of the things is, I think, anyway, so I say all these things now, I'm even shy to say them. But I was first in my country in, what's that exam you take in, like, JSS3?
Neko. But that's Nigerian, so.
Yeah, we call it BC.
Okay.
Is it? Yeah, you have it? Beke. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I was first in the country. So I think all of that, and ALA, like a good story. So yeah. So I went to ALA. From then, I think our class was like 98 people from the whole of Africa out of 5,000. Yeah, so that was definitely a wild experience for me. And yeah, my life changed since then.
Okay, so I think I've read that when you went to ALA, at the time, English was your 4th language?
Yes.
And it seemed like you had issues acclimatizing, but I'm curious, how did you build the confidence to excel in what was your 4th language at that point?
So I already learning in English in SS, like in senior secondary school. Like I was already, and I think all the French and the Arabic and Creole kind of taken backseats in my brain, because those languages, they're easily lost if you're not like active. But it definitely, English was my 4th language, and I actively started learning in English in senior secondary school. From JSS, I would say. Anyways, and going to ALA, I don't think it was a language thing. I think it was, you go to school with, first of all, Africa, not all Africa. There's like, some countries just have smart people. Like, I don't know. That's what Nigerians, you all are so annoying.
You know why this is killing me? Because my brother had the same experience. Like, he thought he was smart, and then he got there.
And he's Nigerian. Check me out from Sierra Leone.
And then he got there, and he's like, the guy who what's the
built the windmill?
Yeah, like things like that. Like it's like you started hearing stories like that, and then you realize that it's like, oh no.
At assembly, there's this thing we did every Monday at assembly. Someone would say their story, and you just listen to these kids. Some of them are 15, 16. And they're telling you, say, I founded a school. I was fighting girl, this, that, in Mali. I'm a mayor of my town. No, I've had, like, literally, and you're just like, what? All I did was take exams and do a couple of debates and, and like, survive Civil War, but I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, biggest imposter syndrome. Biggest, because I remember my colleague Kenza. I mean, she's still an A-star. She just did her master's MBA from Harvard, and Kenza was 15 at the time, and she just like whooped my ass. Like in math, like I was just like, no, I'm not used to learning at this pace. Also some of our educations, they don't teach you to understand.
You teach you to pass exams.
Yes, and not that I didn't know things, so I could not apply myself, but I can tell you for a fact, I never actually understood economics until I got to ALA.
Okay.
And I took economics and I aced it. Like I kind of finally understood how it worked. This is not like I can apply this. Or usually they don't teach you to apply yourself. You're afraid and you cram and you what's the word? Exactly. And and then so you have your Kenyans. Oh my goodness, your Zimbabweans, your Moroccans, your Nigerians, and your Ghanaians. It was not easy. But I think eventually I was like, you know what? I went from being the A-star student, the top of my class, of my country, to like one of the smartest people from the continent. And I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here. And I think eventually I was like, you know what? I had a goal when I came here. Let me focus on that and just like go back to like, let me unlearn things. Like, okay, I'm no longer the first. I'm no longer the top. How do I like work my way, to understanding things? And I think by my second year, I had my confidence back. I found my foot. Yeah, because you're also young, impressionable. You start hearing people from different, experiences, African cultures and accents, and you're just confused and you want to fit in. And yeah, I didn't have a lot of like countrymen there as well. It was just me and one other guy.
Okay. So one of the things I discovered, apparently when you're in ALA, you won the Alan Gray Award for
Guy,
turning,
like, where did you go and find all these
for
things?
turning 1050, which was the online hair salon.
On campus.
Yeah, the on-campus hair
Hair
salon
salon, yeah.
into like,
A
a
functioning
success, a
business,
sustainable business. So, was that your first experience in business?
Yes, it was.
So, talk to me about that experience.
So that experience, actually, looking back to it now, explains how I enjoy what I'm doing today. It's so funny because I was always studying accounting, economics, like it's in my blood. Lebanese people are always business people. Yeah. I'm just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. My dad was like, you're going to school to study business? Okay. Like, as in, like, he didn't get why I had to go to school to study business. So it's like what you do. It's very natural. I was like, okay. So anyways, I love doing things with my hands. Like, I love creating. I love makeovers. Like, I actually love doing hair. I do hair. I used to do hair. I don't do it anymore. I just I like making people feel great about themselves, or like, yeah, like I love a good makeover. Come, let me transform you. Yeah, it's like what gives me joy, and then you're happy later. You're like, see, so if I find a good product today, I want to tell all my friends about it. Use it, it's good. It's gonna do this. So like again, that's how I am. So this stemmed from a need on campus. The girls didn't have anywhere to do their hair.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, you know what? Let me create somewhere. And we had to literally create businesses on campus.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me create somewhere alongside Sheila. Actually, who also went to ALA. She's Nigerian.
I know Sheila. I know Sheila.
Yes, one of my best friends. So we came together and did 1050, where 1050 was the address of it is the address. Okay. Printech Avenue. Anyways, so we created 1050 for that purpose. When we have events, cultural nights or whatever, girls come and they do their hair and do their brows and nails and whatever. So it was born out of that. And then, became successful. It was not something that we thought about. I personally didn't think about the profit making first. I thought about the need. And I think probably why they were impressed was that's what ALA always thought, like shadow your customer, you find the idea, and then you solve a need, and the need amount of products, and the products will make you money, and it kind of panned out. So it was fun. It was where actually now I became more social. I made more friends, and I think it made me more confident as well.
Okay, so everything is connected in that.
You connect the dots.
Yeah, so like you're talking about, because at the time, when you obviously decide you're going to go to university, and you choose to study business and economics.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was going to ask, like, why, how, but I'm seeing like the why and the how.
Yeah,
and that also explains how you wind up doing what it is that you're doing. So you end up going to Brandeis, you study business, you study economics, you come out of that experience and you wind up at a company called Kupanda Capital.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So going back to the point where I said ALA changed my life, I think it's going to be an ad for ALA.
They should pay us after that.
But I don't mind singing their praises. I think that it's their, give credit where credit is due. Yeah. So when I went to university, unlike ALA where I assimilated, I was part of it. Like I loved it, shaped me. In college, I don't know whether it was like a culture shock or whatever in America. I went to school in Brandeis in Boston.
Yeah.
I didn't and I was much older than my
because of the 2 years you've
exactly done. So I was like 20 going 21 at that point, and that's like when people are in their third year, like their third year in college in America. So these were kids 18, 19, excited to leave home for the first time. And they like just want to be wild, party, drinking, and I'm like, And then there's a liberal arts college, so university. So they're like literally exploring, doing literature. Do you know African students, they are studying to come out of poverty, So I'm like, okay, cool. Where's my accounting? I was tutoring accounting on campus. Like I was like, I'm gonna keep on my path. Like, this is what I'm here to do. Obviously, I did other, I explored, I did arts. Again, I like doing this with my hands. So I almost minored in fine arts. But yeah, I just didn't, I made friends, but I don't think I was very social in college. Maybe I missed out on some things. I was very to myself because I just wanted to do this and leave. Plus, I also didn't love living in America. Yeah, I didn't.
Don't worry, lots of people don't.
Yeah, I didn't. So I was like, it's too cold. And Brenda, like Boston, it got cold. It got dark at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
So I have seasonal depression. So I was just highly impacted, and I don't have family there at all. So, anyways, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Every time I left campus, I went to see an ALA friend. So this is where ALA came in. ALA literally is a lifelong thing, and I love how Fred is like, and the team there they've kind of created an ecosystem. Literally, you go from the school, now the university if you want to, or you go somewhere else, and then they have like this career network. They have this host families they give you, and you have this indabas every quarter or every year, and then there's this like constant counseling. So I actually didn't use Brandeis Careers Network. Why? I didn't want to work for any American company that's gonna keep me in America and like do stuff and change what I didn't feel like my contribution to the American economy was needed in any way. Like I didn't see myself like finding fulfillment in staying and working in America for what didn't concern Africa. So I got to Kupanda through ALA's Careers Network.
Okay.
So ALA had all these companies that sign up for their Careers Network. There's a platform. I don't know if they've changed the name now. And you go on there, you search the field, you see job opportunities, right? Why? Because like companies that work in America that are Africa facing are looking for bright minds to employ. And so ALA is a pipeline for Kupanda, as well as many other firms, even firms on Wall Street, right? It just depends on what you're into. And so when I was in college, every year I interned back on the continent, right? And all of my internships came through ALA's Careers Network. I would interview, like I'm still up against all these people that I went to school with. They were hunting me with their, but like I think my first year I went back to South Africa, interned for an energy company. Second year I still did the same thing, energy. So I thought I was gonna be on that.
Follow that path.
Yes, and I did. I think that was my first time working and living in Nigeria. It was 2015, and I came to intern for Symbion Power here.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then when I finished, I thought I was gonna go into the energy financing. It made sense. My experience in energy and like my background in finance. But then I found Kupanda. It was all Africa facing and sector agnostic, but they had an energy advisory bit. So I was like, okay, let me apply. And I'd met them at one careers thing that ALA did in DC. I met Bobby there. So yeah, and that's how I applied. And I literally met two of my classmates at the interview from ALA. And I was like, oh Lord, no, not again. But yeah, I got the job, and that was 2016.
Okay, so Kupanda would ask you to move to Lagos?
Yes, they would. And that's because of working on Mavin.
Yes, because they were investing in a record label.
A record label, yeah.
Called Mavin Records.
Yeah.
And so you've spoken about obviously coming to live in Lagos briefly for an internship, but what was it that kind of, about the opportunity that kind of appealed to you?
Living in Lagos for summer was fun.
You bought the hype.
Oh, I did. And I'm like, when I finally moved, I was like, it was a trap. I lived in Lagos for 2 months. I had the best time of my life. Like I was, in fact, the internship was not that tough. So my friend, who I still my lifelong friend today, I met at that internship. And we were just like gallivanting. Tuesday afternoon, we would just go to the spa in the middle of work day. because you don't have a care in the world, you're not paying rent, everything's funded by the internship. It was great. So that was my experience. And then so when the opportunity came, it was either they applied for my H1B, which is like the visa
So to stay in America.
Yeah, or moving to Lagos for Mavin. And I worked on Mavin from the onset.
So in terms of overseeing
Sourcing.
investments.
No, and even sourcing the deal.
Okay.
Yeah. So it made sense that, hey, and I wanted to move back to Africa, remember? So I was like, yeah, I'm going to Lagos. I don't want to H1B. And I came to Lagos, and 2 years in, man, I'm going back to grad school because the Mavin deal took a while. Okay. And I was here, and I was living here, and I was doing DD, due diligence, yes, for Kupanda. And at some point, I'm like, what's his service? I didn't know what service apartment was.
Okay.
And I rented one apartment in VI like this. My goodness.
I'm dead.
I was dealing with Jen. I was dealing with Gateman. I was dealing with water. I'm like, wait, they didn't, what was, in the US, you don't think about that. In my adult life, I've not really lived in Africa then. So I was like, this is crazy. I'm moving back. I finally learned how to drive because Uber was not working the way I thought. So yeah, but then after the 2-year mark, I think I was like, you know what, I'm here, might as well. And I think I really loved what I was doing with Mavin. And yeah, that kept me.
You moved from essentially being a VC to working as an A&R, like director of A&R.
That's wild.
No background whatsoever.
No.
And I think one thing that kind of stands out is VC guys aren't really operators. A&R is like the trenches of operations. So
how did you know?
I do my research. So talk to me about
Not really the trenches though.
Talk to me about how you've been able to build. And there was something, because I know there was a quote that either Tega or Don Jazzy was quoted as giving recently, where they were like, Rima has P&L of every artist.
Really? They could wait?
Yeah, I've seen this quote flying around. What's like that? Rima has a P&L of every artist that is signed to. Maybe I can tell you, if you ask her at this point in time, she can tell you, how much this person is banking and how much, in the red we are. But talk to me about how you built like that operation out, and also like the skills that you must have learned like doing that.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I started with Didi. So when you're doing Didi, you're like going the ins and outs of the company, right? You're getting to know the company intimately.
Yeah.
Like you're like seeing the numbers, seeing the reality, you're seeing everything, right? Their staff, operation, whatever their reality, and that's when I met Tega and Jazzy properly. And obviously I went through from Didi into operations, but I didn't go straight to A&R. First, I started operations as in like helping with hiring, looking out for the right talent, and also just building the financial model with my colleagues then at Kupanda for the year, for like the next 5 years for Mavin. And even, finding real estate for Mavin, so the offices.
The two big investments.
That's when I learned the corners of the island. Because there's no agents and no place that did not take me, That was what obviously I don't like operations in that HR business. No, I was happy to run from that. But I did it because for me, I saw Mavin as my thing. I saw it as my baby. Even though obviously I'm not Don Jazzy, I didn't find it. But when I, from the Kupanda side, it's something that it was a very big marker in my life. Because I was always, again, imposter syndrome. The people at Kupanda are incredibly smart, talented, so I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing here? What value can I add, right? And Mavin came as a result of me wanting to add value, at least from my side. So it became a thing of at all costs, obviously Tega and Jazzy, that's it's, but for me, that was that's where the ownership came from. I need this to work because I want this, I felt like this is my contribution to what Kupanda was doing, but also to me wanting to live and create value in Africa.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I threw myself in whatever was needed, whatever to like, shape the Mavin global structure, right? So that's, operations. And then moved on to A&R, and I'll tell you how this one happened. So the more I did operation, the more I met the artists. Before they were all spreadsheet, they were all names on my spreadsheet. And so I met them, and I started getting the people side.
Yeah.
And trust me, I'm an empath. I'm an empath. As a cancer, I'm an empath. And like I said, I like a good makeover. I think I said that at some point.
Yeah.
And it felt like that to me. I'm like, oh, like I can help people achieve their dreams and like, shape them and mold them. And, and I said, I always like doing things with my hands. And that means I was always interested in the art side of things. Like, I think I always had an eye for like arts and like paintings, and I paint actually. I've not done it in a very long time, but so I the creative side of things, and I always wanted to work in hospitality as well. Again, the Lebanese side of me. Yeah, so I thought I was gonna open a spa, or like a restaurant or something, a hotel, whatever. I'm still interested in that, but basically that's what I thought would lead me to entertainment. But I didn't see it as like music. I thought eventually my life, like,
Yeah.
So music kind of combined the people side that I love. I love working with people, love working on people and impacting people directly. So, but I didn't see that as A&R. Anyways, along the line, Jazzy was like, the way you talk about these artists, the way you're very like, one day he just said, yeah, we were looking for a director of A&R, by the way. I was scouting for it.
Okay.
I even made some recommendations. And he was like, I think you're the one for the job. It's like I discussed with Linda. Linda is from Kupanda and Tega, and we think you're like, I was like, why? He's like, yeah, because you have empathy. I didn't know it was a trap. It's a trap. It's not a trap in a bad way, but like it's true. I think, and I didn't know what it meant then. But later on, as I worked with artists, I'm just like, boy, oh boy, is my empathy. Empathy is running thin. I need to harness it because
You actually got stronger soldier. I couldn't do it.
So he was Jazzy was spot. He's done it for so long. He's like, yeah, if you have empathy, you care about people. That's actually the basics of what you need actually to be an A&R. Like I know these days a lot of A&Ring is not about artist development, the hit song and the viral songs. But really, that's literally like you see a talent and you want to like develop them and create, something impactful. But yeah, that's how that role came about. And honest to God, I was just like, do it afraid, I guess. You know what that was that still. I was like, oh Lord. And I'll get into meetings for the first time. I'm introducing myself. Oh, I'm the new director of A&R. My mind, I'm just like, what are you doing? But yeah.
So there's something that Mavin do. It's called the Mavin Academy.
Yes.
It's a very mythologized thing. Like no one can tell you where this academy is or what exactly goes on there. But we know that in this academy, once they activate, so people are going in there, they're going through the process, and then they come out, they drop the first EP, then they follow up EP, and then they become stars, they're minted. And so, tell me about that Mavin Academy, how, you guys came up with this idea and how it has been able to mint the stars it has minted.
Yeah. So I think, again, Tega Jazzy have been so instrumental, in like teaching me everything I know about music business, really. And literally every time I met with Tega every week, I learned something new. And that's how I was like, okay, I was just absorbing, applying and executing. And that's how I kind of learned. And I would say the academy came out of like several conversations with them about, just seeing how when artists come out, they just come out feeling like they're not sure what they're doing, not from our side, just like generally in the industry. Yeah. It takes so long for them to kind of get where they need to go because either they're not seasoned performers yet, obviously still they have to experience it to become, but there was just a level of like roughness and like rawness that like it just goes out there and they're seen struggling or, like and we're like, you know what? Why not do like what sports people do. Just bring them on, help them figure out, teach, let them learn not just about their arts or their crafts. How does music industry work? How do you make money? Understand? Because then they're like, oh, I did not know this is all the work that I had to do to actually put in. And then my labor is going to do this, and then you're going to transform. So that education is like, almost like, it feels like school a bit.
How long is it?
It depends. Anywhere, it can be 6 months, it can be 2 years. Depends on how fast and where you're at, right? And obviously you have to be talented. That's not the thing that. Yeah, we're not magicians. It's have talent, but then you come on. You're like, you're recording, you're forming, you're thinking around your branding, your style, your outlook, just everything. The kind of artist you want to be, the kind of performer. And Rema was my first artist. And
flex.
I'm glad to flex today, really. I'm very grateful. But basically, he had his own form of that. Obviously, it was not crystal clear the way it is now. But, he was with the Prince for a long time, at least a year or so, before he actually was unveiled at Mavin.
Okay.
Yes. So it was like, living back of the studio, doing this thing, recording, just like really getting ready for what he wanted and crystallizing his vision. So it wasn't, again, that structured, but it helped us think back at that as well. I'm like, that probably was a helpful process to have someone like him.
Okay, and then kind of standardizing it and replicating it for everyone else.
Exactly.
Okay, so this kind of takes us back. But two things I'm curious about. So one, what was it about Mavin that made it, after you did all the due diligence, what was it about Mavin that made you say, yes, guys, we should put this money in? And second, how important, because I think as an outsider looking in, I think that investment or that period was what basically sets Mavin apart from the rest. Like it turbocharged the label's trajectory. So yeah, it's trying to understand why, like the thesis for the investment, and then how crucial you think that investment was into making Mavin what it is now.
The first part would be why Mavin at the time, at least from my perspective now, looking back and seeing what, Bobby, people at Kupanda did. And I think really it boiled down to the people, Jazzy and Tega. It's one thing to bet on numbers, but I think it's even better when you can bet on the entrepreneurs that are doing it.
Yeah.
Because numbers can go up and down, but again, they will go up if the people actually they're not just looking for a quick get rich quick scheme or anything. And this is their bread and butter. Tega has Mavin on his name, he's Mavin, and Jazzy is Mavin, and Jazzy's done it so many times in the industry. So you're betting on someone like Jazzy,
the greatest.
Exactly. And you're betting on it, Tega, who you can see that this is literally it's win or win. Literally, it does not. There's no. He never wants to lose, and that's that hunger. That they were different. I think we met them severally, and sometimes you meet people from the first dinner, you're just something's off. But no, because this whole investment process, the whole period of dating, or courting or whatever, and it was 2 years of getting to know them, and that I think that cemented the value, cemented the vision, and cemented that relationship, the people, really. And then it's a testament, it's literally it remains true till today. And that investment was very important, not just for Mavin, I think for the entertainment industry in Africa, because it was the first of its kind, biggest institutional investment ever. And what that tells you when there's an institutional investment is that there's value. Somebody has done the dirty work to look what's under the hood, and they've come out to say, and these are people who want to make money, they come out to say, I'm happy to pour in. TPG is top 2 biggest investment companies in the world. So we're happy to put our money here, and that kind of opened up the way for other labels and other people to see that, okay, There's something being, because when that, I think it was PwC
What
numbers.
like an Outlook report or something like that?
Yeah, that was the first one that came out. Everyone was talking about it because, like, oh wow, these numbers, but it all felt like it wasn't real. Like,
Yeah, it was
okay,
abstract until.
yes, and then so them coming, and it was pivotal because then Kupanda didn't just bring in investment, brought in structure.
Brought you.
Yeah, brought in a lot of what you want to look at today, right? And for a UMG to say, these are the partners, right? Because of all of that. So it was very important. I think it was also at a time where Jazzy and Tega were ready also to take Mavin to a new level. It was just a perfect timing.
Okay, so you've kind of gotten to the next question, which is UMG's investment in Mavin, which is, honestly, I can't tell you how inspired I was by that, because I think it validated everyone who's building in this market and in this ecosystem. It kind of was just like, oh, your dreams are valid. Like, if you keep putting in the work, if you can, like, do X, do Y, do Z, this is possible.
Absolutely.
But on you guys' end, like, considering how much of this is your baby, so you came to a country where you were not really familiar with, came here, you decided to put your tents down and do the work, and you oversaw that, the investment in terms of being like the boots on ground.
Yeah.
And then we now have the situation where you guys are able to secure something this unprecedented. What did that do for you? And like, what lessons do you think anyone who's trying to build can take from that?
Honestly, I'm inspired too. To be honest, I'm inspired, and I think that like we saw greatness coming. Again, like no one can really imagine the extent. And this is not to say that this is the ceiling. Obviously, this is even the beginning of like
the
so
next
much
level.
more. Yeah. And again, it's a testament to they looked in and they saw value. The value that we've been creating for the last 5 years was not lost on them, and they've tried different ways to come to this market, especially this side of Africa. Exactly. And now they're like, you know what? K-Cap was onto something here, Instead of creating our own, let's bet on the guys who are already doing it and excelling at it. And, you have a Rema, Ira, and all of the other artists that we have. And we have actually built a roster of thriving artists. And there is, again, like a lot of structure, and everything kind of looks like what it should look like when you want to. We had everything, in terms of, oh yeah, I want to see this. Yeah, I want. So anyways, and we were ready. I think, again, we were going for maintaining what we do on a global scale. That makes sense. And this partnership is exactly that. So yeah, and everyone who works in this industry, we won't have music in isolation.
Yeah.
Right? Everything else. I work with so many creatives around the ecosystem, or in the ecosystem of, that's I guess the wrap around the music industry, right? From your graphic guys to your radios, to your DJs, your photographers, your videographers, your director, everyone's important. Your stylist, your makeup artist, and the more I can find the right people to build around my artists, the better their brand. So their brand is important, as just as important as ours, and that's the entire economy of the creative industry. So it's just a bigger pie for everyone. To be honest, like you said, it is a validation even for us to know that we're onto something, and people outside see the value in Afrobeats, not from like it's a nice trend, to actually wanting to bet
on it,
put money on talents in Nigeria, and hopefully talents in Africa. Yeah.
Okay, so we come to the end. I usually end this interview.
Oh, thank God.
I usually end these interviews. I usually end these interviews with 2 questions. So the first one is, if you were my producer for the day, and you could pick guests you would love to hear me dig into their lives in such great depth with, who would they be?
Oh wow. That's tough. Who would I want to hear? To be honest, you had her recently, Ronami.
Okay.
Which, I watched her. I really I admire her a lot. You don't do artists, so that's tough.
I don't mind artists. If you tell me, I can go and find them.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a tall order. Burna Boy.
You're the second. You're the second person. You're the second person on this show who said that. It will happen. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're manifesting it. It will happen.
Oh, One Day Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I'd love to watch that.
Okay. And then final question. Again, you sat down with me. I've asked you the most invasive questions I
Very
think
invasive,
anybody has
very
ever
invasive.
asked you. So I think it's only right I open myself up.
Okay.
Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
Yes.
I'm scared.
No, don't be scared. Who's your favorite Mavin artist?
Who's my favorite Mavin artist? Wow.
It's not too deep, just light work.
This is hard because I like the two. So
Careful now.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to. Can I pick two?
Okay.
Okay, so I'll pick Ira.
Actually, no.
You want me to pick
three?
one? Pick three.
Three, yes.
Okay, so I'll pick Ira, I'll pick Rema, and I'll pick Crayon.
Okay, cool.
And I can tell you why. So Ira, because again, that's something we've seen from the beginning. And I think the industry has needed
Yeah.
someone like her. And it's amazing seeing her just when you know, like, she hasn't even bloomed yet. Then Rema, I think because no one outside of maybe Burner, I don't think, again, I don't think anyone is doing as much work to kind of advance
Themselves.
the scope of what
They do, yeah.
they do, what this industry or what music from this part of the world
Right.
sounds and looks like. And then
Okay.
finally, I picked Crayon because I love his story. I love Crayon going from supposedly almost being dropped to.
That was never.
Don't worry, you don't have to say it.
That was never true. Okay, yeah, I'm not kidding.
But to go from almost being dropped to becoming so undeniable, like he's had like a really amazing last 2 years.
Yeah,
And
very proud of him.
and also in terms of even seeing the scope of the music, because again, the music he was making like last year is not the music he was making at the beginning. So yeah, that's my favorite Mavin artist.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the reasons as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate.
Thank you
very proud of them.
thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with me. I really, really appreciate your, making it happen and finding
Thank you,
time in your
Abby.
schedule and allowing me ask you all these questions. And thank you guys for watching this episode. Thank you, Rima, for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Catch you same time next week. Bye.